Oh my goodness. What about the testimony yesterday? I know you've heard just about every which way it can be interpreted and categorized and broken down by the experts, but I am still just in a state of shock. I have to say that this committee has done an incredible job of slowly, methodically presenting the case for Merrick Garland to go after these rat son of a bitches with Trump at the top of the heap. All of these people whose sole objective while they were in Trump's phony government was not to govern the United States, but to move the United States from being a democratic republic to being a fascist dictatorship with this filthy pig Donald Trump, the dictator, and the fascist Christians deciding the rules. And the committee has exposed this, and there's more to come. They have done, in my opinion, because I have seen both, they've done a better job than the Watergate Committee. It's just unbelievable. And I just hope that enough Americans understand what is being revealed in this testimony, how close we came and how close we are at this moment to a complete Trump dictatorship. And even worse, to blood in the streets, to open violence. We're so close. And I hope enough Americans understand that so that come election day this November, for the midterm elections, that not a single fascist Christian will make it to office. I realize that sounds like a pipe dream. You know what that comes from? Smoking opium in the pipe. It's a pipe dream. I get that. But I wish that could happen. And the next, in 2024, the next presidential election, that anybody with the stink of Donald Trump on them would not even be considered as a candidate for president. The hearing yesterday was just devastating. There were a bunch of revelations from the hearings yesterday regarding the filthy bastard Trump's attempt to get the Justice Department to get involved in his scheme to steal the election. And all of the revelations, everything that was revealed in the hearing yesterday, were all devastating. For example, Jennifer Rubin, writing at the Post, points this out. For example, former Attorney General William Barr made clear that he had investigated claims of voter fraud before leaving in December 2020 so as to be able to rebut false claims of fraud. He testified that there may not have been a presidential transition if that had not happened. You know, I've said this before. I do not see William Barr as any kind of a hero. To me, he is a fucking bum. He is the worst attorney general this country has ever had. The worst. And for him to save his ass from the burning ship that Trump set afire and jump off the ship after all the damage that Trump did, and now he comes forward to testify before the committee in these depositions. I mean, he is, William Barr is a coward. He is a filthy coward. But I digress. We also learned the identities of the fascist Christian members of Congress who were begging for pardons from Trump. Now remember, you don't beg for a pardon, you don't ask for a pardon unless you know goddamn good and well you violated the law. It's very simple. That's what pardons are for. They're not for innocent people. They're for guilty people. Period. But this bum Mo Brooks, representative from Alabama. And this child rapist, why is this fucker still loose? Matt Gaetz of Florida. And Andy Biggs, who would love to serve in a Trump dictatorial government, from Arizona. And Louis Gohmert, that miserable shit, from Texas. And Steve Perry from Pennsylvania. And Marjorie Taylor Greene from over here in Georgia. Now, the committee's star witness yesterday was Richard Donahue. He was one of the several acting U.S. deputy attorneys general or attorney general or whatever. Trump just shuffled them around every time he realized that his latest appointment wasn't going to give him what he wanted. Jeff Rosen, former acting attorney general. Steve Engel, former assistant attorney general for the Office of Legal Counsel. Those were the three witnesses yesterday. And all of them testified that a former Justice Department official named Jeffrey Clark, a low-level environmental lawyer in the Justice Department, whose job it was, I am reasonably certain, was to thwart, not enforce, environmental laws. But they all three witnesses yesterday testified that Jeffrey Clark, and that's the one that Trump tried to name as his acting attorney general after Richard Donahue and Jeff Rosen said they weren't going to participate in his filthy plot of criminal behavior. But Trump tried to name this half-wit, Jeffrey Clark, after he'd been repeatedly told, Trump had, that there was no evidence of voter fraud. Nothing. Over and fucking over again and again and again. Nevertheless, Jeffrey Clark tried to pressure Justice Department leaders to send a letter to the 5 or 6 of these so-called battleground states to lie and claim the election was fraudulent so that the officials in these states would buy the bullshit and pull back their legitimate electors. Oh, and by the way, it was reported that the FBI searched this bastard Jeffrey Clark's home 2 days ago on Wednesday. That's good news. Barr, according to what I have here, Barr told Trump at least 3 times that there was no record, no evidence of fraud. So after Barr resigned to save his own ass, Trump persisted in calling or meeting with Jeffrey Rosen and his colleagues to insist that they go ahead and investigate fraud. And Rosen repeatedly told the Orange Vomit that Trump's allegations had been refuted and thrown out of court over and over and over again. And Rosen resisted efforts to involve the Justice Department in this bullshit because, as he testified yesterday, they were, quote, not appropriate under the law. Now, again, I have to wonder where these people were in the real time when this shit was going on. Anyway, testimony yesterday made it clear that on a number of occasions, Trump or Clark tried to push the Justice Department to lie and say there was fraud where none existed. And at one point, this came out in testimony, Trump, after being told there was no fraud, insisted that the Justice Department tell people that there was widespread fraud. And Donahue testified that Trump instructed him to, quote, just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman, end quote. And witnesses described Trump as agitated. Now, again, as it's been reported throughout all these events, Trump seemed to be hell-bent on whipping up his supporters with his campaign speeches and shit. He told the public that his Justice Department had been missing in action. And he got these fascist Christian members of the House and the Senate, the House mainly, to recite his allegations of voter fraud to his rabid, mouth-breathing, sick fucking fans, cult members. The Clark letter, the one that was going to go to the various states, was only one of several bullshit attempts that Trump tried in enlisting the Justice Department to lie and overthrow the election. Overthrow the election. Mr. Engel, one of the three key witnesses, said that, and Steve Engel, he's the former Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel. It's the Office of Legal Counsel that is tasked with making decisions as to what the president or the executive branch is about to do is in fact legal. That's when John Yoo, who was George W. Bush's attorney for legal counsel, said it was okay to torture. And that's when the United States became a nation who tortures prisoners. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Engel testified that Trump wanted the Justice Department to file a lawsuit with the Supreme Court. And Trump also wanted Jeffrey Rosen to appoint a special counsel. And you know who he wanted? This psycho bitch, Sidney Powell, this insane drug-using asshole named Sidney Powell, to be special counsel to investigate fraud claims. And both Engel and Rosen explained in their testimony why each one of these ideas was just bullshit. And then on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2020, the attorneys from the Justice Department were asked to seize voting machines. So these members of the Attorney General's staff tried to tell this dumb fuck there was no basis in law or in fact to do that. So instead of that, then Trump, this filthy bastard, called his Homeland Security official, Ken Cuccinelli, and lied to Cuccinelli and said the Justice Department said he had authority to seize the machines. You see, what Trump was involved in, and this is crystal clear, he's determined to come up with any way he could think of to remain in power. And as Jennifer Rubin points out, the evidence of his corrupt intent should no longer be in doubt. No kidding. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.